Hello and welcome. My name is Matt Greer, and today I will be discussing building student relationships. As an educator, one of our most important jobs is to include students and to get them excited about the education process. Education sometimes feels like it is this mass producing, factory style way of getting these kids to get, or adults to get, the most amount of information and to get them prepared for either standardized testing or to have very specialized jobs. But the goal as an educator, in my opinion, is to make the individual student kind of feel like this little bright guy here with his hands up, going woohoo, as he's bought into the education, he understands why it's important to him or her, and he's excited about it. This is a assignment produced through my Education 534 class through Grand Canyon University, and my professor is Dr. Michelle Rauch. So let's dive right in. So why do we build relationships? And why is it important that students feel as an instructor we have a relationship with them? First things first, it involves student engagement. When I think about all the teachers that I was excited to go to class, it was those who were excited to teach me. It's those who were excited to, show up and they knew you and they knew what you wanted to learn and they were there to teach you. And that's the kind of teacher that we want to be. We want to be excited. We want to be engaging our students. We want to be making connections with them and really bringing that learning closer to them. It reduces your discipline issues. If you're teaching high school classes, if you're teaching freshmen in college, it's going to reduce your discipline if the students will behave nicely for you. They're interested in the class. They see a clear connection between having a good relationship with you and having a good engagement in the class with getting a good grade. And many times students are going to gauge their success on the interactions with their teachers. Was it a good day? Was it a bad day? Was Mr. Greer unhappy with me? They're gonna ask themselves these questions, and to have good relationships with them allows them the freedom to kind of reach out and try new things, and then gauge based on your response how successful that technique was. Kind of putting these puzzle pieces together, as this image over here so eloquently puts. So now that we've talked about the importance of relationships, how do I build them? How do I start to build these bridges, these connections between my students? Well, the first and most important thing is when you're building a relationship with anybody, it's important to know their name. And it helps to know their interests. It creates a community within your class, and it creates a community within your students. They know you, you know them, you have this respect for each other. And once you start to build that relationship, you can't just stop there. They take effort and they take housekeeping. They take continual work to build and grow that relationship. You don't want a relationship to become stagnant. You don't want a friendship to become stagnant. In your personal life, you won't want your professional relationships to turn stagnant either. Your students are constantly growing and changing, and your relationship needs to as well, within professional bounds, of course. Some ways that you can encourage these relationships is you can have office hours where you encourage students to come in and talk about their success, talk about their life, talk about any problems that they're having or reasons that they might be turning in assignments late or not at all. Doing regular check-ins, seeing if a student has a bad day, reaching out and asking, if everything's all right, seeing if there's a reason that they're, delinquent on an assignment or didn't do well on a particular test, and then that gives you an opportunity to open that door to offer suggestions, and if they are under extraneous life circumstances, offer them extra time or accommodations to help with that. That also increases your relationships with them. Any individual is going to want to succeed more if they know that their professor or their teacher is excited and thinks that they can succeed. That believing in your students and having that, wanting them to be a success story is an awesome driver. So when we talk about relationships, when we talk about building these relationships, I think a lot of the focus is turned on childhood and young adults, and that's not necessarily the case. Adults want this relationship too. We as adults are more autonomous, we're more self-driven, so we're more prone to do self-directed learning or look for transformative learning. But most of these methods still are mostly effective if there's a professor or an instructor at the helm. There's somebody who knows what the end product needs to look like and knows the student, and then has this kind of builds this bridge between, okay, this is what you are now, this is where you want to and I want you to be. So how do we get closer to that? How do we move steadily and progressively towards that? Whether that be personalizing learning, assigning assignments that are interesting to a large majority of your students. There's many, many ways that you can kind of bridge this autonomous gap while still maintaining excellent learning standards. And adults, they still require this relationship building that younger students do. You still need to establish trust and rapport. They need to know that they can trust you, that you're going to be consistent. They need to know what the community that they're learning in is. And hopefully it's an inclusive one. Hopefully you're building a community that says that everyone can come and everyone can learn, and we all have chance for success here. And that asking a question being wrong does not make you bad or make you unprepared. It just means that you have a little bit more growth that you need to do, and offering that growth mindset kind of learning. So day one, you can start building these relationships. You can do things like interest surveys where you find out what students are interested in. What are their hobbies? Why are they in the field that they're in? Why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they taking this class? Is it a fun class that they thought they'd enjoy? Enrichment-wise, is it academically important to them? Is it for a program? Are they preparing for a test, like a MCAT or a nursing exam? Do they need like extra help getting ready for those kinds of things? Why are they here? Adult learners are very, very focused on the why. What is this going to get me? Why am I doing this? Why is it important? And starting to open that door between that discussion of why they think they're there and what you need from them. So, and it sets those expectations on the same ground. Introductions are important. I mentioned knowing their names, putting names to faces, knowing who they are. Getting to know them on day one is the first step. If you're not interested in your students day one, they're going to think you're not interested in them. Regardless if you are, regardless if the only thing you're worrying about is the syllabus that day, they still want to know that you care about them, even day one. I like syllabuses. I know that a lot of people can get kind of bogged down by the language inside of them, but I present syllabuses as a contract, not just between the student and myself, but myself and the student. I am going to give them a fair and reasonable expectations for assignments. I am going to grade in a timely manner. I'm going to, instill and secure this trust in our community. I'm going to make sure that everyone's treated equally and that we're all included. This is kind of what I feel the role of the syllabus is. Not just I, the student, will turn in work on this day and this is what we're going through, but also I, the teacher, will make sure that I set you up to be the most successful. I will give you all the tools to succeed. All you have to do is put in the equal amount of work. So what does this look like from a Christian worldview and looking at beyond that? To feel safe and to feel secure in their learning and to be comfortable actually going out and learning, students need to feel included. Not agreeing with the student is not arguing with the student. And it's this kind of thin line that we walk as humans where we want to be right, but some things aren't about being right or wrong. They're about being from a different view or a different perspective. And kind of understanding how your students are seeing the world and perceiving the information that you're giving them can absolutely change how you teach that. And maybe you're going to give it a softer, connotation, or, acknowledge that there are other worldviews on this topic. As an educator, especially with adult learners, you guys are kind of a team. They're going to meet you halfway. You need to meet them halfway as well. You need to be together. You guys are a single unit in this learning process, and it takes two of you, or a whole class and you. You need to be able to bridge this gap and make sure that you're meeting your students halfway, that you're giving them adequate information, and that they're giving you adequate work back and respect as well. And then the last thing when we talk about relationships, when we talk about worldviews, is be the teacher you would have wanted. Be the teacher that was awesome for you, that you thought, was the best. He was the most inclusive, or she was the most inclusive. She was the most knowledgeable. They had the absolute best feedback when they turned back assignments. They cared about you. They greeted you by name. Think about those positive attributes that these teachers had and exemplify them. You guys get to take that learning and you guys get to take that model from what you guys have experienced, and whether it was good or bad, you get to create what you feel is the perfect learning environment. You get to create what is the best situation for your students. And that's a truly awesome power, and it's a truly great power of responsibility, one that needs to be taken seriously. But don't forget why you're teaching. Don't forget that, you know, while you're trying to get these students the information, you're also supposed to be enjoying it too. We're in it because we like it, and we like the students, and we want them to succeed. So while creating this, I used these references. These are all great resources if you want to see some more, read some more on developing relationships with students and doing that housekeeping that we talked about, that very important housekeeping on maintaining those relationships and creating an environment that's culturally inclusive. They're all really great resources. I hope you learned something. I hope that you're excited, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.